Okay, hey everyone, welcome to my monologue podcast. Today we're diving into one of the craziest, most influential, and ultimately tragic story in the history of Wall Street, with Salomon Brothers, the investment bank that basically invent modern bond trading, made billionaires out of made PhD, produce legend like Michael Bloomberg and Warren Buffett right hand man Charlie Munger for a hot second, and then blew itself up in the mother of all scandal in 1991. So this is story of how a small produce trading firm became the most feared, most profitable, and most reckless gorilla on the street, and how it all came crashing down in less than 4 years. Buckle up, this one wild. Let's start at the very beginning, 1910. Three brothers, Arthur, Herbert, and Percy Solomon, opened a small money lending and bond trading shop on William Street in Lower Manhattan. They are basically lending cash against commercial paper and trading low-risk government bond. Nothing sexy. They're conservative Jewish immigrants who wear pants and keep the books in perfect order. Fast forward in the 1970s, the firm is still called Salomon Brothers, but it's a completely different animal. Fixed commission on stock trader have just been abolished in 1975 or May Day, and the old gentleman club culture of Wall Street is dying. Solomon realized something nobody else does yet. The future is in bond, not stock. Specifically, the US government is about to start borrowing insane amount of money to finance deficit, and those treasury bonds are going to be traded in massive size. Enter the man who turned Solomon into a rocket ship, John Gutfreund. He takes over a managing partner in 1978 and declared open war on every other bank. His motto, "We don't have clients, we have counterparties." Translation, so we're not here to hold your hand, we're here to eat your lines. Under Gutfreund, Solomon invented the modern trading floor. Picture this, a room the size of a football filled on the 41st floor of Seven World Trade Center, One New York Plaza first, then later 7 WTC. No cubicle, no walls, just thousand traders screaming into 10 pounds at once, chain smoking, throwing pounds, spilling coffee, and trading hundreds of millions of dollars before breakfast. The floor is so loud you can hear the person next to you. They literally hand out earplugs. And the start of this circus, the bond traders, especially the mortgage-backed security desk, in the early 1980s, a guy named Louis Ranieri, yes, the guy from the Big Short, basically creates the mortgage-backed securities market at Solomon. He takes full of home loans, slice them into tranches, get rating against it to stamp AAA on the top pieces, and suddenly pension fund and insurance companies can get enough. Solomon is printing money. By 1985, the firm is making over $1 billion a year in profit, more than Goldman Sachs, more than Morgan Stanley, more than anyone. But here the thing about Solomon, it was pure meritocracy on steroids. You could be a 24-year-old kid from Brooklyn with no college degree, sit on the trading desk making 10 million in a year, and the managing director would bow when you walk past. They called the best trader big swinging dicks. I'm not making that up. It was literally in the training manual. The most famous book ever written about Wall Street, Michael Lewis' Liar Poker, published in 1989, That's a memory of his 2 years at Salomon in the mid 80s. The very person in John Gutbrand challenging a young trader named John Meriwether, future fond of long-term capital management, to a game of player poker for $1 million on the trading floor just because that was the vibe. By 1987, Salomon is the king of Wall Street. They underwrite the biggest deal in history, with the British Petroleum privatization, the privatization of British Telecom, huge chunk of the RGR Nabisco LBO that it's part barbarian etiquette. They're so dominant in treasuries that when the treasuries auction bonds, Salomon basically decide the price, and then 1991 happened. It started with one guy, Paul Morger, head of the government bond desk in the treasury auction. The rules say no single firm can buy more than 35% of any issue. It prevents one bank from cornering the market. In February and May 1991, Morger starts submitting back bids in the name of clients who never authorized them. He buys way over 35% limits, squeeze the market, and makes Salomon hundreds of millions in profit. Eventually, the Fed and the SEC figure it out. August 9, 1991, the new breaks. Salomon admits it broke the rule in not 2, not 3, but 5 per treasury auction. The follow-up is biblical. Client desert overnight. The firm almost goes bankrupt in a single weekend because nobody will trade with them. Just John Gutbrand, the guy who built the empire, resigned in disgrace. The new CEO has to go on TV and basically beg the government not to shut them down. And here the craziest part. Warren Buffett writes in to save Salomon. Yes, that Warren Buffett Berkshire Hathaway had bought a big prepper stake a few years earlier. Buffett becomes interim chairman for 9 months, fires half the top management, and basically turns Salomon into a boring, compliant bank again. He later said it was the closest he ever came to losing everything. In 1997, just 6 years after almost dying, Travelers Group buys what left of Salomon for $9 billion and merged into Smith Barney, creating Salomon Smith Barney. A decade later, after Citigroup buy Travelers, the Salomon name disappeared completely. The culture, the trading floor, the big swinging discs all gone. So what the legacy? 3 things. For the first, about Salomon basically invented fixed income trading as we know it today. The mortgage-backed security market, the dominance of sales and trading over traditional investment banking, that all started at Salomon. They proved that pure, raw, aggressive meritocracy can get insane wealth and insane risk. The same culture that made them billionaires almost destroyed them in a week. And maybe most importantly, the 1991 scandal forced Wall Street to grow up after Salomon regulatory finally took the treasury market seriously. Position limit, surveillance, reporting requirement, a lot of the plumbing we take for granted came directly out of modern mess. If you walk into the lobby of 388 Greenwich Street, today city's headquarters, there's still a small plaque that says Salomon Brothers Trading Floor 1979 to 2002. That's it. That's all that's left of the wildest bank Wall Street ever saw. So next time someone tells you finance is boring, just remember there was time when the most powerful firm in the world played $1 million liar poker on trading floor, turned mortgage trader into rockstar, and nearly took down the entire US Treasury market because one guy wanted a bigger bonus. That was Salman Brothers. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy this, smash that for following me in this Spotify, leave a review, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you.